What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. My name is Will. Joining me is my co-host Eric, and today we're going to talk our buys and sells at the running back position in Dynasty. Just some guys we feel like are undervalued and overvalued, and we're going to be using Keep Trade Cut as sort of our barometer for the community feel as to how these guys are sort of viewed and ranked. But before we get into that, Eric, do you have anything for the people?
Yeah, real quickly. Thank you guys so much. We've been growing slowly for a long time and things are popping off right now. You guys are showing so much support, so much love, whether it be through, subscribing, liking, engaging with us, all the comments. It's been fantastic. But we want to keep that momentum going. So if you guys could continue to help us out, sub to the channel if you're not already. If you like the content, leave a like on the video. And again, continue to engage with us. We've had great conversations with people in the comments and also in the Discord. If you want to check the link in the description for that, join up over there. But yeah, let's just keep this momentum going. We appreciate all the love and support. But yeah, with that, let's get back to the video.
Absolutely. So like I said, we're talking dynasty value at the running back position. So to get into that, before we do, we're going to kind of talk about our philosophy when it comes to running backs and how we view them in dynasty and how you should view them when you're building a team and what it is your goal is for that team. So I'm going to let Eric go ahead and take that away because I know he has a note on this he wanted to give you guys.
Yeah, so like you said, before we get into individual players, I think it's important to have some strategy, talking about the landscape and the position groups. And for me, I kind of view running back differently than I do most other positions in Dynasty. Quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, I treat fairly typically where age and talent are heavily factored in, and situation and short-term production are much less important. But with the running back position, though, I essentially treat it like redraft. In the sense that, if I'm rebuilding, I don't really own running backs. I'm trying to get that value and those points off my team. But if I'm contending, I typically value like older veteran production and less talented running backs in good situations higher than most other managers would. And I'm not saying like sell all your picks for old running backs, because picks specifically, like that's a different story. They're a very liquid asset. They provide you with a ton of flexibility. But I like to sell younger, higher valued running backs for older, lower valued running backs plus picks. Or, in my situation, I also typically have an abundance of young wide receivers that I can use as trade bait as well. But for the sake of the argument, we'll keep it in the running back territory. And I'll give some examples of some trades that I might do as we get into our actual lists, because some of the guys on here are going to be good examples for executing that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into some of the guys we feel like are overvalued according to Keep Trade Cut. Let me make sure I switch this window over here so you guys can see it. So on the screen, if you guys are unfamiliar with Keep Trade Cut, this is sort of the community consensus as to how they feel like these guys are ranked. They usually give a poll out so, people can vote on it, stuff like that. It's just if you're unfamiliar, just give you a quick overview of it. But this is our list right here of the running back rankings, obviously starting off with Mr. Bijan Robinson at the top. But one guy that we have that we feel as if he is a little bit overvalued right now is Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, listed right here at the RB5 on Keep Trade Cut. What do you feel about Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs right here, and why do you feel like he's overvalued so far?
It pains me to say it because I love Jahmyr. We were super high on him in the pre-draft process. And I kind of want to talk about him in tandem with another guy that's on my undervalued list in Devon Achane, because I think they probably deserve to be switched. Right now, Jahmyr Gibbs is sitting at the RB5, like you said, and Achane is at the RB7. I would probably flip-flop those in my rankings. And it's, again, kind of like I talked about in the little philosophy thing at the beginning, it's almost entirely about situation. As long as Gibbs is in Detroit and Dan Campbell is the coach, the Lions are going to have him run in a committee with a bigger and potentially more technically sound back. The reason I bring that up is because I saw Austin Eckler talk about it on his Yahoo Fantasy show. He was mentioning how impressive and explosive Jahmyr Gibbs was, but also that he can still tell that he's a rookie, and that when he sees David Montgomery run, he looks like a seasoned vet because he's better at setting up his blocks, not telegraphing his running lanes, and things like that. And obviously, as Gibbs gets more experience, that split could go back more in his favor. But I think the team is always going to rely on a bigger back and is always going to have like a goal line back while he's there. So what are your thoughts on that specific to Gibbs? And then we can talk about Achane as well.
So in specific to Gibbs, like you said, it's just one of those situations where he's going to have to mature a lot in this offense before he can be the only running back here. I think, We saw a lot of value from Gibbs, of course, from a PPR standpoint, and as we've seen in the last couple weeks, he's delivered on that, you know? So he's still performing.
He's been really, really good.
Yeah, so he's been performing and doing exactly what it is we drafted him for. But the reason why he would be ranked up as high as he is right here is if he had that dual side sort of threat to him, like the other guys that are above him on the list, and Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, guys who are getting the bulk of the workload, you know? And as we know with Jahmyr Gibbs, he's probably never really going to get that in this offense, at least until he shows signs of growth. So it may take some time. But, you know, like you said, in comparison to Devon Achane, sorry about that, he's somebody who very much does have an opportunity to be the guy in this offense, especially with other guys in the running back room who are starting to age out at this point. Because David Montgomery is not an old guy by any means. He's still a pretty young running back. He's nearing his prime or in his prime right now. So it's going to be some time before David Montgomery's going to be taking any steps back, for sure.
Yeah, and even if Achane isn't given the workhorse role, because I don't necessarily expect that.
Right.
You know, with Mostert and Wilson aging out, I expect him to get a little bit more, but he's never going to be the true workhorse. The main difference for me is that Mike McDaniel offense is just so perfectly tailored for him. Mm-hmm. Like, even if he is a committee back, we've also seen him get goal line work while Mostert has been healthy, so that's important as well. He's getting the red zone usage and those valuable touches in that area of the field. And then also, like, if everyone in the backfield is healthy for both teams, so Demont's healthy for Detroit, Mostert, Wilson, and Achane himself are healthy in Miami, who are you picking between the two? Just from, like, a redraft perspective.
I mean, probably Achane. I feel like he's the guy who's going to go out there and score those big games as we've seen him have so far this season when given the opportunity. And he's just been so efficient with the ball, too. Like, he's been really fun to watch.
Absolutely. And Gibbs has been fun to watch in his moments without Demont as well. But yeah, I mean, if you include Achane's debut game where he only got 2 touches and scored 1.4 half PPR points, he's still averaging 24 points per game. Mostert was healthy for all of those. Now, Gibbs is averaging 25 points a game in the limited sample size of 2 games without Demont, but in the games where Demont has been healthy, 8 points per game. Like, you know, that's going to change as he's develops more, gets more experience, and the team trusts him more. That, you know, that number's going to go up. But we've already seen Achane just blow up right out of the gate. And they're basically the same age. We're talking 22, 21. So I see no reason why Achane should be ranked lower at this point.
No, I 100% agree. I think there was even a video we have on this channel where I was saying I would even rank Achane a little bit higher than 5 if I could. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even argue with you if you had him in your top 4, had him in your top 3. I wouldn't be mad at it, to be honest with you.
And I don't know that I want to go super in-depth on it in this video. I didn't have a write-up prepared, but you were talking about Bijan Robinson at 1, and, like, being in the group of guys who get that volume. I'm not really getting that volume right now, so conversation to be had there as well, but that might be for another video.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a conversation, but we'll revisit that when the season, after we see how things shake out.
Yeah.
Moving on to somebody else that we feel is overvalued. We have Mr. Tony Pollard at the RB12. Let me scroll down to him right here. Out of Dallas, 26 and a half years old. Why do we feel like Tony Pollard is an overvalue here?
So this one also pains me. He's another guy that we were targeting in the pre-draft process. There's a lot of different arguments that you could make as to why Pollard has struggled so far this season. You could blame it on game script. According to Scott Barrett on Twitter, only 28% of the Cowboys' total offensive plays have come with a point differential being between like plus or minus 6 points, which is last in the league. They've had so many blowout victories and blowout losses that game script has been pretty wonky. You could say that the increased workload has led to a decrease in efficiency, which has dropped off pretty dramatically. You could talk about the fact that he broke his leg 9 months ago and hasn't fully recovered, although multiple of the Twitter doctors that I follow don't believe that to be the case. They think that, you know, the recovery timetable has taken its course. He should be fine at this point. You could talk about bad touchdown luck. There's a bunch of different things. But the most important factor to me, the thing that I'm kind of leaning on, is play calling. Last year with Kellen Moore, there was a much more concerted effort to get Pollard into space. Whether that be calling outside zone plays, stretch runs, motion pitches, screens, swing routes, wheel routes, whatever it had to be, you name it, like Moore was getting him in space. With Mike McCarthy running the show, almost everything is just a run up the middle. Like there's a good reason why he's inefficient. It's because the plays that are being called for him are inefficient plays. and not suited for a guy of his size and the way that he runs the ball. So it sucks because I don't think there's a talent difference, but unless his situation changes, which again with running backs matters more to me because their shelf life is shorter, I don't see where his blow up games are going to come from.
No, I absolutely agree. I think another big issue for Tony Pollard right now is workload. This is the first season we've actually seen him with that complete 100% RB1 workload, and I think it has been wearing down on him over the season. I believe there was even a quote after like a 54-yard run where he was like, yeah, I was kind of gassed after that when I didn't have much left, and he didn't have a carry after that. So it's like, when you see stuff like that happen, it's a little discouraging for sure. Because you want to see him have those high snap counts. You want to see him getting that volume, especially in this offense where you feel like the running back position traditionally over the years has been super high value. With Zeke coming in, DeMarco Murray back in the past, they've succeeded at the running back position quite often. And even Tony Pollard in the past as the RB2 has found great success in this offense, but he just hasn't found it as the RB1. And like you said, there may even be some durability issues here with the size, with the workload itself. He's coming off a broken leg. It's one of those situations where I kind of feel like it may be time to try to sell Tony Pollard and try to look for somebody who, one, doesn't have those durability issues, because your league is still going to look at Tony Pollard like an elite asset, because even looking right here, he's still valued as the 12th best running back in fantasy. No matter what it is we're talking about right now on this video, he's valued as the RB12. So with that price, I would feel like you probably should move off of Tony Pollard if you have the opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah, you make a good point about his transition to the RB1 and how he could be wearing down. Like, even if you just look at the carry count, like he started the first 3 weeks, 14, 25, 23 carries. Since then, 11, 8, 15, 12. Like, whether that's game script related or if that's the team making an effort to take the ball out of his hands because he can't handle the workload. Either way, it's discouraging. For me, he's probably closer to like the RB 17 or 18. And that also involves moving some guys that are lower on the list up. So it's not just, dropping him into that spot, looking at this list. But we'll talk about that when we get to some of the undervalued guys, some of the potential buys, because I think I can talk about them in relation to Tony Pollard as well.
Absolutely. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. At the top of the episode, we mentioned Devon Achane. He is on our list for, undervalued, but we did talk about him a good bit. So we're going to move on to the next person. At the RB14 spot, RB14 spot on KTC, we got Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints. We feel like he's undervalued just because of the fact that he came back off of the suspension, and this team has been using him like crazy. Like, they have not stepped back. They have not taken a look back. He's been, what did he have, 11 receptions in the last game? Something like that?
Something ridiculous, yeah. The usage has not only been, like, valuable touches, but also, like, volume valuable touches. It's ridiculous the type of opportunity he's getting right now.
Absolutely. So in terms of him being undervalued, he's a 28-year-old running back, so people are obviously going to be nervous about that. He's kind of, I guess, over the hill in terms of age, but in terms of usage in this offense and in terms of volume, he is not even close to over the hill yet. But what are your thoughts on this one right here?
Yeah, so this again plays into that philosophy, the portion that we talked about at the top, where in Dynasty, if you're competing, I'll take guys that people are viewing as over the hill, viewing as too old, over the age cliff, like an Alvin Kamara, who is 28 and a half, but producing at a ridiculous rate. Like, he's a top 3 redraft running back right now, because you can take a guy like a Tony Pollard that we just talked about, or I had an example written down for like a Kenneth Walker, even, which some people might think is crazy. You take one of those guys and trade them for Alvin Kamara plus. Like, if you do like Kenneth Walker, you can probably trade Walker for Kamara plus mid-second. If you do Tony Pollard, you could probably trade him for that plus like a late second or a couple early thirds, or maybe another, valuable vet piece somewhere else. And those are trades that I'm trying to make. Because as a competitor, I think that Alvin Kamara gives you a better advantage, a better chance to win your championship this year. And then you also get those dart throws down the line. Like, I'm taking that 10 times out of 10.
No, I absolutely agree. Especially like you said, if your team is built to win now, Alvin Kamara is a guy who's going to go out there and perform right now. He's absolutely on fire as of late. So in terms of our rankings right here, we feel like Alvin Kamara should be higher. How high do you feel like Alvin Kamara should be?
So I'm looking at some of the similar names up here. Like Austin Eckler is listed at RB10, and he's also the same age, basically 28 and a half. Am I right about that? Yeah, 28.3 is what Alvin Kamara is sitting at. So I think they belong right in the same range. Eckler hasn't shown us yet, since he's come back from injury, exactly the ceiling that we had hoped, but I think that's coming. And so I think right around in that RB10, RB11 territory is where Kamara belongs.
I like that range for Kamara because, like you said, he's performing right now, and he's performing more consistently than guys like DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs, especially this year. So I like that a lot. Yeah. And then we're going to move to the next person we feel like is undervalued, and we've got the king himself, the Yeti, Mr. Derrick Henry. This one right here, I want to let you explain this one right here because we can have a discussion about this one.
Yeah, I mean, people have been saying Derrick Henry's over the hill for years, and he just keeps proving them wrong. I will acknowledge, I'm not trying to hide behind anything. Derrick Henry's efficiency numbers have gone down a little bit this year. He hasn't been exactly the same player. The offensive line is the worst group that he's had in front of him in his entire career there in Tennessee, but he's still producing at a high level. Not as high as we've seen him in the past. He's not, a redraft top 5 running back, but he's still like a top 10, top 12 running back. Currently looking at it, where is he? He's the RB22. When I looked at this last night, he was ranked as the RB24. I think he belongs closer to like the mid-teens, RB 15, 16, somewhere in there, like probably in front of James Cook. Because again, James Cook, 24 years old. Yes, he's young, but I don't see his role ever expanding into like, a true workhorse where he's going to get the red zone touches, the goal line touches. And so if that's the case...
Yeah, certainly not, especially now that Lenny's in town too.
Facts.
Yeah.
That's another guy that we'll talk about as well. But yeah, give me... This is another situation where like James Cook isn't necessarily a sell for me at RB17 prices, borderline. But like I'd sell James Cook for Derrick Henry plus in a heartbeat as a contender. Like you're gonna get more production now, and Derrick Henry is like a fucking superhuman, dude. This isn't analytical. This isn't like a great argument necessarily for probability's sake, but Derrick Henry's different, man. Like he can continue to do this for a few more years, in my opinion. And even if he doesn't, give me 1 year of Derrick Henry plus a pick plus some throw-ins over a James Cook or some of these other guys.
Yeah, every time I think Derrick Henry's going to fall off, I just take a look at his high school stats, and I'm like, man.
That's crazy every time you look at it.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that, check it out. Next guy we got up on this list, we have Raheem Mostert. So this is a more interesting one right here. Kinda, yeah. So at 31.6 years old, listed right there, the RB28 currently. We feel like he should be valued higher, kinda. With an asterisk.
Yeah. I put him on the list more as like an example of that, the way that we view running backs in Dynasty. At this point, with Achane set to come back off of IR within the next week or two, he's probably fine where he is. I don't know that I'm like rushing to buy Mostert. But, if you had got this at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of Achane's IR stint, absolutely would have had him higher because then you get those 4 weeks of crazy production out of Mostert, and you could have gotten it for like a late second. At the beginning of the season, you could have gotten it for a third or lower. Like people were not valuing Mostert very highly at all, and so this was more of like an example of that philosophy we talked about, not necessarily somebody that I would be rushing to buy right now.
Right, I got you. No, but that makes sense if you guys are following that logic. So Raheem Mostert right there. Obviously, with Achane coming back soon, his ceiling's capped. Probably not non-existent, but it's going to come down because we've seen both of them perform in this offense as well.
No, he'll produce. Yeah. Just not to the same level.
Absolutely agree. And we are going to move to the last person we have on this list. Give me 1 second because they're disrespecting them so much. I got to go to the next page.
Yeah, he's on the next page. I think, where do they have him?
The RB74. under Isaiah Spiller, Chris Rodriguez, Zeke, Zamir White, Keontae Ingram, Rico Dowdle. I'm not even going to keep naming people that aren't playing the game of football.
This is what I'm fucking talking about, bro. Like, I get that we're playing Dynasty and everybody's obsessed with age and potential and stuff like that, but Zamir White's never going to do anything. Isaiah Spiller isn't going to do anything. Keontae Ingram, Rico Dowdle, these guys aren't going to do anything for you. Maybe they'll have a stretch of like a couple games, but that's a maybe. We know what Leonard Fournette is capable of. We know he's old. We know he doesn't have a crazy high ceiling, but I'm like, put him in this Buffalo Bills offense.
Give him the goal line work.
Give him the goal line work immediately. Give him like the 2-minute drill work, because for whatever reason they haven't trusted James Cook to do that. They've been putting Latavius in there for a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
Like, and we've seen what he can do as a receiver with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. I don't understand why you're valuing these maybe dart throws over Fournette, who's proven it. He doesn't deserve to be like, an RB2 range. The move would be from RB 70 something to RB 50 something, in my opinion, but still, that's substantial. And you can pick him up for scraps, 4th round value. You can pick him up for the Rico Dowdles of the world, guys like that. Like, give me that every single day.
I absolutely agree, because it's just like, he's gonna play. You know what I mean? They didn't sign him so he wouldn't play. That he's gonna play at some point. And Isaiah Spiller, Chris Rodriguez, we don't know if they're gonna see the field at any point anytime soon. Chris Rodriguez, maybe. He's got a chance. But Isaiah Spiller, he's had his opportunity, and it hasn't come. Zamir White, like you said, we've seen what Zamir White looks like. I'm not impressed. I don't really want any parts of it.
No.
And Keontae Ingram, same thing. Rico Dowdle, same thing. But Leonard Fournette is someone who's going to go out there, and if he gets the opportunity on the field, like you said, he's a proven talent in this league. Has he fallen off since he's been picked? Absolutely. He's 28 years old. It's going to happen. But he's still going to go out there and produce, and the team is still going to trust him because he's a veteran in the league. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I do want to make it clear, which I think we probably made clear at the top with us talking about how we view the running back position. If you're not competing, if you're rebuilding, you're not buying any of these running backs. You're not buying any running backs in general. You're selling running backs and getting all of that production off of your team. So for the running back position, which we're talking about today, this is all advice for contending teams. When we get to the other position groups, which we will in later videos, then we can talk about even buying as a rebuilder potentially. But yeah, this is all for contender talk is what we're doing today.
Absolutely. But that's going to go ahead and round out our list. Do you have anything else for the people for this before we get out of here, before we outro?
As far as like actual player analysis and stuff like that?
Player analysis, advice, anything for the people, any nuggets?
Any nuggets? No, I think I got basically everything out. If you guys have any questions about our running back philosophy, if you disagree, agree, leave comments below. We'd be more than happy to talk about it. And it's not an end-all be-all. We're not saying you absolutely have to view running backs in this light in Dynasty. I've seen people view it differently than me and still have success, differently than us and still have success. So it's not, the only way that you can go about it, but feel free to have a conversation with us. We'd be more than happy to talk about it.
Absolutely. So I guess with that being said, that's going to round out our list of overvalued, undervalued players on Keep Trade Cut, people we think you should buy, people you think you should sell. So if you agree, disagree, feel like there's anybody who should have been on this list that maybe we overlooked, let us know down in the comments below. Like Eric said, we're willing to talk with you. We're willing to figure some stuff out. Let us know if there's anyone we missed out on that you wanted to hear about, or maybe even that you feel like we disrespected on this list with ours. Do you feel like these people are properly rated and they're right where they should be? Let us know. Also, hit the like button. It's absolutely free, and it's the best way to get our stuff out in the algorithm for the YouTube gods to judge us. And also, hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. That way you know when we drop all of our latest content and videos and fantasy football advice. And Eric, you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, just real quickly, if you would be so kind, check the links in the description, man. We got the Discord link in there. The community is growing. We're talking with these people every single day, having these type of conversations, buys and sells and trade discussions, all sorts of different things when it comes to Dynasty, redraft, the whole gamut. Come be part of the community. We'd love to have you. So that'd be cool. And then also check our sponsors below as well. We got a promo code for Dynasty Owner if you're interested in that kind of unique, different Dynasty experience. And then also Do Numbers if you're looking for some cool apparel, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, joggers, any of that stuff. you can use our promo code DoNumbers15 to get 15% off at checkout. So yeah, support us, support our sponsors. That would mean a ton. But if you've made it all the way till the end of the video, as always, we love you, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.